fuck. Now, I know what you're thinking. Scott, why would you start an episode of your podcast with the word fuck? Well, dear listener, there were a few reasons for that. And all of them have to do with the topic of this podcast, which today is about doing things for yourself. And I just kind of felt like starting the podcast off by saying the fuck word. And now I'm diving into it. Before I dive into the bulk of this episode, the first thing I want to say is sorry if my voice sounds a little bit weird. I know I mentioned in the last episode that I recorded that my throat felt like fire, and it did for about a full week, and I'm still recovering from it, where the past few days I basically haven't had any voice, and hopefully it'll be completely back today or tomorrow. Well, not today, but tomorrow or the next day. But it's not that big a deal. But I just wanted to say something so I didn't just sound completely different for no reason. But yeah, along with that, I really don't have much else to say other than the content. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, or if you watch my blog to see if I'm writing anything, the content there might change a little bit over the next few forever. And the purpose for that is actually the reason that I was inspired to do this episode of the podcast on treating yourself or doing things for yourself. And the reason that I wanted to talk about that was because Acceptable Madness is a brand that's very near and dear to my heart. And I created it with the intention of coping with my depression and dealing with anxiety and just making myself feel happier, and hopefully as an outcome, finding people through my work that also can find some comfort in the things that I'm doing and just feeling better about it. And I still hope that that's what's happening, and I hope that that will always be the case, because I'm still having a lot of fun with everything I'm doing, and I still like reaching out and having new audiences, and even the audience that I already have, I enjoy having them listen and watch or read or just interact with Acceptable Madness. But I started it with the intention of just feeling better, and then it transitioned slowly into exclusively a mental health brand. And I think that's good. I think mental health awareness is something that really needs more recognition in the world. I feel like something that still sticks in my mind from having the interview that I did with Jesus from BetterHelp is her comment that was, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but it was something along the lines of, because mental illness is on the inside, people don't see it as a debilitating thing as they would like a broken bone, or if you need stitches or anything like that. And that'll always stick with me, because I think it's just absolutely, completely true. And so I think having that recognition will always be important. But what I think is more important than helping other people, and now this is for me helping other people, the listeners like you, helping other people is really important, obviously. But if you're not doing things for yourself and you're trying to help people, then I don't feel that I feel that you may be able to be doing a better job if you're able to potentially hone in on what's making you unhappy, or maybe not even unhappy, maybe that's too drastic, but a little bit less happy than you maybe could be, and trying to figure out what that is, and then going from there and trying to figure out what will make you happier. So I started this brand as a way for me to feel better and reach out to other people, and then it turned into mostly mental health. And again, I think that's great, but that's not all I am. I don't just love helping people that have mental illness. Honestly, my sense of humor is fucking just, it's degenerate humor. Like, it's really bad. It can be really offensive, and I love it. And I love having the sense of humor that I have. And I like making people laugh and smile, along with making people feel comfortable within their own brains. And so I have been kind of rediscovering some of the hobbies that I used to explore a lot more, such as video creation and maybe dabbling in creating songs again, or more unique writing that maybe doesn't follow the traditional style. And all of the stuff that I've been trying to do on social media, I tried it for like a while. It may be a few months. We'll say like 6 months, because it really has been a while that I tried to do stuff that was entirely mental health related, because I was worried that, well, because it's a mental health brand, I don't want to say anything that's too offensive or in line with my degenerate humor, because I don't want to cause any sort of offense or make people feel unhappy with what I'm putting out there, and I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable or any of that stuff, because I want my brand to be a safe space. And but the more that I did that, and the more that I added these artificial and kind of arbitrary censors to myself, I realized that I wasn't necessarily having as much fun with all of the creating that I was doing. I wasn't having as much fun with social media. I wasn't having as much fun with the videos or anything. I still love this podcast, and this will be the thing that hopefully remains almost entirely mental health related. Now, I don't want to promise anybody anything, because I can change a lot just as you can. And if in the future I feel like maybe it should go down a different path so that I can stay interested and keep making it and maybe finding a way to continue helping people, then I might take that path. But for now, I still love and want to talk about and try to bring some awareness to mental health. And that's what this podcast will be. But it's been really nice to have that awakening and kind of rekindling with the relationship that I have with all of my other creative endeavors, such as the video creation and writing, and realizing that I have so many other different things that I like doing and like about myself and like creating, that I can put it out there and share that too, and I don't feel like I need to hold back. And there have been a lot of reasons in the past that I felt like I needed to hold back. Some of it being it's the age of the internet. So if you put something out there on social media that's a little bit negative or offensive or something, then a future employer may find it and may not hire you. Or if you already have a job, could potentially fire you even. And that has always been something that has terrified me, because I know that some of that stuff can be very damning. Not necessarily what I'm saying, but just you can read any sort of example of someone getting fired for saying something on social media, and you can tell simply from reading what happened in that situation, that their entire lives are kind of thrown for a loop, and then they need to figure it out from there. Excuse me. I told you my throat was not 100%. So that was one of the fears that I had. And actually, I've had a close family member. I put up a dumb video on Instagram that I thought was funny, which was me saying that I was going to try my hand in ASMR. And I literally shoved my phone in my mouth as far as I could. And I made exaggerated noises. And I had a close family member say, like, hey, isn't that kind of a weird thing to put up on social media, because someone might see that and be like, Scott, you're a fucking weirdo. I don't want to hire you. And although I totally agree with the idea behind what they're saying, it was one of the first times that I just kind of went, I don't care at all. And maybe that'll come back to bite me in the ass in the future. And honestly, it totally could, and I don't care about it at all. Because first off, if you've been a longtime listener, you've known that since I've started this, I worked a job that I didn't like, then I got laid off, and it's been a fight uphill both ways, I'm sure, as many of you have also been going through, I'm sure. So it's not like I've been having it easy, so I think I can handle another kick in the face or two. But having that comment from someone that was close to me, it didn't even make me second guess myself for once. That was like the first time ever that I didn't go, you might be right. Maybe I should take that down or delete that post and refrain from posting anything similarly to it. And I thought that was a really big step for me, because I felt very confident in that moment, and I felt happy with the work that I was putting out, even though it was just a dumb video of me fake eating my phone. Now, you can infer whatever you want for the reason on why they don't want me to put a phone in my mouth and make exaggerated gagging noises, because we can all imagine what they were thinking. It's a blowjob, in case you didn't get that. But I thought it was funny nonetheless, and that's all I cared about. And so that kind of made me start to realize, like, hey, I can start doing whatever I want. And then I focused in on why I was really doing Acceptable Madness, and it was because I want to be happy, and I want to create stuff, and I want to share it with people. And if it finds an audience that's not the most traditional audience, then fine. I had another conversation with someone close to me that was like, hey, Scott, maybe if you focus your brand on exclusively mental health and you don't put out this other content, you'll be able to grow an audience faster. And I agreed. I 100% think that that person was correct. And again, I told them straight out that although they are right, for once I don't care. And I wasn't focused on growing Acceptable Madness, and I wasn't focused on what they thought would be better for my brand. And again, I think they were right, and I think they were coming from a place of care and compassion. So it's not like they were saying anything negative about my brand, or me for that sake, or for that matter. But I just realized that I didn't care about necessarily having this tremendous overnight growth. I'd rather just make stuff, and if I find people that like it, great. And if I don't, I'm still going to have fun making it. And that for me was something that was a really big step in the right direction, because it takes a lot of the stress off of the creation process. I still want to do the expected things, constant content, being able to put stuff out there that people can engage with and stuff, and maintaining a good communication and relationship with the followers and everything like that. And I think that's really important for maintaining a brand. So I care about that a lot, but how I do it is where I'm starting to play with it a little bit more, and I've been liking it more. And this is a really new thing for me. But I still know that it is good for the long run. It is something that I will constantly strive to do, because I like creation and creating things more than I like just focusing on other people. And that might even sound selfish, but I don't mean for it to. I just think that in order for the conversation, if it does turn to mental health, and if this podcast is to get recognition and mental health has awareness brought to it, I think that I need to be at 100% in order to do that. And for me to be at 100%, I need to do what I think are more unique and less traditional things. And I just need to do it for me. And hopefully people see that and they like it, and they see the authenticity in what I'm trying to do. And whenever I grow up and I feel like I need to validate myself less, that people realize that this is just something that I'm doing for the sake of doing it, and not necessarily something that I'm doing just for followers. And that makes me feel better about what I've been doing. That makes me feel happier with what I've been writing. And it takes, like I said, it takes the pressure off of it too, because I don't need to necessarily do this amazing professional video every time. I just can put out whatever I want. I just put out a video of me dancing to a song that I found on YouTube's like royalty-free music playlist, because I thought the song was a complete, it was awesome. I thought it was really nice, and it had a really good beat to it. So I just recorded myself dancing like a moron to it, and it was fun. I really liked making that video, and it was a really, really good time, and I'd do it again. And the reason that this has all been happening to me recently is just because I realized that I'm doing this for me, and I'm doing this for you. I'm doing it in that order, because if I'm not doing it for me, then it's going to suck for you. And so I'm going to try to just be a little bit happier doing it. And that's the ultimate goal, especially for someone that wants to focus at least a little bit on mental health, is just to be happier. And happiness doesn't come easy. So if you can find a way to get it, highly recommend. I definitely strive for that. And all of this applies to you too. I think that no matter what, if you're living your life, if you're in a situation where you feel you have to live your life by the thoughts of others and thinking about the consequences that could affect you in the future, that's preventing you from doing something that you're excited about and a passion that you're interested in pursuing, then I think that could potentially cause some less than happiness. I don't know how else to put it, but it could make you a little bit less happy than you maybe could be. Now, obviously, there are exceptions to that. I'm not saying don't care what other things, go do a line of coke and other hard drugs. I'm absolutely not saying that, because there are some things that are never okay, and that's one of them. And it's just, if you can find what you like and you can really do it, stick to it. I've been spending a lot more time on Reddit, and I've just been kind of perusing different subreddits of people that have these passions that I never would have thought about. Like, I knew knitting was a passion, but I'd never really thought or heard why people do it and how they can connect with the hobby and use it as just kind of a meticulous but also absent-mindedly, they can do it as a way to connect with just the hobby, potentially connect with relatives that have already passed that they learned it from. They can just kind of drift off and not think about it and just keep knitting. Same with cooking, same with woodworking, same with singing and dancing. Like, there are so many hobbies out there. They're just an infinite number, that there's got to be something out there for you. And if you haven't found it, it's out there, and you can keep looking for it. And also, if you're totally content laying around and watching America's Got Talent all day, that's fine too, as long as it's something that you're happy with doing. And because I can't stress this enough, ultimately that's what you need to be going for. I'm just some guy. I said that in the first episode of this podcast, where I was just an awkward fuck. I didn't want to swear that much, but I was like getting more comfortable with it, and that was almost a year ago. And to this day, I can feel the change that's come from me as a person, my understanding of the world around me, the relationships that I've been building, and some of the relationships that I have not been doing a very good job with maintaining, and understanding that and knowing it and trying to fix it. I can see all of these things that I'm doing right that I wasn't doing before. I can see that I love reading, and whenever I first started reading, it was only to get better at writing. And now I love reading because I love hearing stories, and interesting stories about interesting people, whether they're fictional or not. I love writing, and at first I was just writing because I was like, you know what, I could be an author. And now I'm writing because I love creating stories that I think people would enjoy. And a lot of them, not gonna lie to you, they could absolutely be the story for a Criminal Minds episode. They're pretty fucked, and I love them. Whether it's about some lady making someone into a skin lamp, or some guy drugging an entire book club with some psychotropic drug. Like, that's the kind of stuff I write about, and it's absolutely insane. And I'm sure most of my family doesn't want to read it because it makes me feel like I feel like they think I'm a sociopath, and honestly, sometimes it makes me feel like I'm nuts too. But it's a really good stress reliever. It makes me feel better, and it's a really good outlet that it makes me happy. And knowing that that's the case, and knowing that, for me, I knew I wanted to be a published author, and I still want to be that more than anything. That's like one of my biggest goals in life. But I'm also aware that it doesn't happen overnight, and I've been writing consistently for 2 years, and every time I write something, it's better than the last thing I wrote. And I know people that when they become authors, the vast majority of the time they're a little bit older. They've been around the block a few times. They've read every book that you've ever heard of. Like, they've read so much, they dedicate their entire life to the craft, and they only figured it out at the age of like 40, and it's still a mix of dumb luck and persistence and passion. And it's really cool to see that transition for people and see people come to that. And it's also important to look at those people that have found success later in life with respect for what they've been able to achieve, as opposed to envy for what you wish you could have. I've seen a lot of people, like, some of my favorite books are one of them is I Am Legend from Richard Matheson. Love it. It's one of the best books I've ever read. The story is great. The main character, Robert Neville, is awesome. And the world that Matheson built was just fun. And it was a really, really, really cool one to be into. And I've seen people that also read, that they'll read a piece of work that they really, really like, and they'll leave going, man, I wish I could have written that. And at first, the very first time I heard that, I was like, yeah, man, if I could have written I Am Legend, I would be set. That would be the best thing ever. But now I look at it, and I'm not envious of Matheson. I'm just happy that he was able to produce that, and it was able to make it into my hands, and that some publisher somewhere and some agent somewhere was able to find him and realize the quality of his work and send it out for people like me to enjoy, and then draw inspiration from it and make something new for other people to enjoy. It's a completely different mindset than what I had originally. Originally, I don't even know what time frame I'm referring to. Maybe a year ago, maybe 3, maybe 10. But it's completely different. And every time I make an episode of this podcast, I'm like, wow, I'm such a different person than I was last time. Or whenever I'm referring to like a life event that I feel the need to talk about in a particular episode, I feel I can feel and sense the change that I've gone through, and I can even see it in some of what I'm doing and some of the actions that I have. I've mellowed out a lot as a person. And even if you listen to episode 10 of this, which was like 20 weeks ago, I guess 23 weeks ago, which is not really that long a time, there's still been such drastic change that has just allowed me to see the world in a different light that makes me much more willing to accept it as it is. The world is not always great. It can still be a pain in the ass. But searching for something that is potentially unattainable, such as trying to force becoming an author, or say I wanted to become like an influencer through social media, trying to force that or something, I think that'd be fun. I think it'd be an entirely new challenge to go after and deal with and work to understand, and I think it would be fun, and I know I would love it because I'd attack it with open arms. But if the goal was to become an influencer or a published author, then it makes the journey a lot worse. And that actually, bringing it back to mental illness, it's something else that I want to make an entire episode about, but I just haven't felt up to it yet. And that's the end of depression. And seeking the end of depression is always a recipe for disaster, in my opinion, because the end doesn't come. It's just finding ways to make life happier while you're dealing with it. And understanding that is really important for trying to find the light in every day. You might have a day where you're just down in the dumps, you hate everything, you didn't get enough sleep the last night, you haven't been going to the gym recently, you've been eating dog shit for food. Like, I don't know, like, it just you could be in a really bad situation, but if you can find some of the bright sides of just every single day and really internalize them, because I can say, yeah, I had coffee this morning and it was delicious. And I can say that all I want. But if I can really sit back and think and go, you know what, I had coffee this morning and it was good. It boosted my spirit a little bit. It was a good way to start the day. It was a nice hot beverage for me. I think that's a better way to look at it, at least for myself. And I'm not saying that all of a sudden you have to appreciate everything and treat every object in your house or apartment with respect. And I'm not saying that you have to have this completely like utopian mindset where everything is perfect all the time and you can't get upset, because that's unrealistic. And if you feel that way, again, I think that's a recipe for disaster. But I do think trying to find some of the, in really internalizing some of the good things that you can find throughout the day are important. And that can be really hard some days, but I think it's still really important to try. And so for me recently, some of the things that have made me really happy are realizing that someone can tell me that I might be making a fool out of myself by putting videos of me dancing up online, or making the same sound that may happen in a sex act on my Instagram. I'm happy that people can tell me that I'm being fucking stupid and ridiculous, and that I can deal with it and be happy with the work that I put up anyway, hoping that someone somewhere laughed at it, because I know I laughed whenever I was making it. It's just a completely different mindset, and the mindset will change again and again and again and again, and it'll always be something new and exciting, because learning more about yourself is, for me, one of the most amazing forms of growth that you could ever feel. Because learning more about yourself is just, it'd be like discovering North America for the first time. Well, the second time. Columbus, yeah, asshole. But it'd be like discovering an entirely new area or new country or continent, and just having basically free reign over it and making it your own. Because once you can discover a new part of your brain, that this newfound wisdom that you got, and I'm 23, maybe that's too young to say that I have any amount of wisdom, and I wouldn't argue with you on that. But knowing that there's still stuff about me that I'm finding, and these things that I'm finding are helping to change my worldview entirely, so I'm able to look back at these things that happened in third grade, where I tripped at recess and I slid face first in a pile of mud for like 3 feet because it had been raining for the entire day of and before. And it happened to be the day of my yearbook pictures. Now, conveniently, I tripped after the yearbook picture, but I had to wear these stupid orange bright gym shorts and this white t-shirt with these 2 dumbass looking geckos or lizards or something on them. I felt ridiculous, even in third grade. And in third grade, I was mortified. It was funny because it was just, the whole situation was weird and I was too young to feel completely embarrassed. But I was still confused by the whole thing and it felt really weird. And now I'm able to look back at it and just look back at that memory and realize how ridiculous it was and kind of laugh about it. And I think that's really important, because then, instead of constantly looking back at all these things that you used to blame yourself for, that friend that you had in high school that you wronged and they never really forgave you, and that girlfriend or boyfriend that you had a relationship with and it didn't go exactly how you wanted it to, and it fell apart, whether it was your fault or their fault or a mix of both, and it's always a mix of both. Excuse me, at least in high school and stuff. Like, there's always something that someone could be doing better. Even in what I think is a successful relationship with me and Alex, I know that there's always stuff that I could be improving upon, and I'm sure she feels the exact same way. And it's just, I think that finding these things about yourself and looking at them with a different light can be as my cough ruins that impactful moment. I really hope this is gone by the next time I record a podcast. I think I'm done for a little bit. I'll wrap this up before that happens again. But yeah, basically I think discovering a lot about yourself is important, and allowing yourself to change is good. I don't think me changing my brand from Acceptable Madness, the mental health brand, to Acceptable Madness, the brand about mental health and other things, is bad. I think that it opens a lot more possibility than it closes. And I think that applies to basically everything in life, as long as you're willing to see it that way. That's the challenge, is seeing it that way. But if you can, I don't think you'll regret it. So I hope that you have some things that you can be happy for right now, happy about, and you enjoy following me on this journey. Thanks. Bye.